Good morning. We're back here with Dr. Pohler. He gave our presentation last week on reproductive technologies, and I'd like to welcome him back. He's going to give us a quick recap of his webinar last week and the project at Texas A&M.
Howdy. Well, thanks, Lance, for having me back again today. So the first thing I just wanted to do is give a quick update. I talked a little bit in our webinar about what Texas A&M is doing with the Beefmaster breed, but I thought I would provide just a little bit of an overview now that we are moving along into the spring. So we've probably transferred about 70 or 75 embryos at this point and have bred about 15 heifers that we have on site already. And I just want to thank all the breeders and people that have been supportive of the Beefmaster breed here at Texas A&M. And if you're interested in contributing to that breed, get in touch with Lance, get in touch with people at Beefmaster, and they'll help funnel you our way. So we're excited about what's coming along, and we encourage you when you're in College Station to let us know this so that we can show you some of our animals.
Thank you. I think we're real excited about that program as well. So we'll start off with some of the more common questions from last week. Most of them, or a lot of questions, had to deal with the protocols and what protocols to use and how effective they are.
Yeah, so on the protocols, one of the things I talked about is there's so many protocols out there, and I shared with Lance and folks at Beefmaster the protocol sheets that are the approved protocols by the Beef Reproductive Task Force. You can find those in any major AI sire catalog. But when picking a protocol, there's protocols that work really well for Bos indicus, and there's protocols that don't. So there's specifically a Bos indicus protocol that's listed on the sheet. I encourage you to think about using that if you're specifically going to be using it in Beefmaster females. The other thing is, don't get so locked into using a protocol, let's say just because your neighbors use it or vice versa. Pick a protocol that fits your schedule, that fits what you're trying to accomplish, whether it's time AI or heat checking, whatever that might be. There's a lot of options. They all work. It's just kind of what works best for you. But the Bos indicus 5-day protocol that's listed on the sheet is definitely a protocol that works well in Beefmaster females.
Thank you. The other question, we had a lot of questions about minerals and how mineral supplementation affects fertility, and can you go in a little more into that?
Yeah, this is a question that's been around for a long time, right? And there's a lot of different opinions on this. My take on it is that, is to have a good mineral program, all right? So some mineral program is better than no mineral program. As we talk about increasing reproductive efficiency, we're always trying to capture that next 5%. So to move our pregnancy rates, let's say, in the final preg check from 85 to 90. And how do you get that done? Well, I think fine-tuning our mineral programs, picking a mineral program that really works well. So a lot of the research that we have done and one of my colleagues here at Texas A&M, Ronaldo Cook, have done is working on complex trace minerals and trying to use minerals that are a little bit more bioavailable to the animal. And we've seen a lot of good evidence to suggest that those help increase fertility both on the AI and the ET side of things. So again, a solid mineral program, something that you keep up with year-round, not something that we just do during the breeding season, I think is key. And then as you fine-tune it, you can start looking a little bit closer at what mineral you might be using.
Another question, I think we had some people curious as to conception rates with timed AI as well as with different embryo collection techniques. So if you could touch on that.
Yeah, when we started 2020, the message I was sort of delivering in all talks I was giving was we had to have realistic expectations as we moved into 2020 for the breeding season, both from an AI and embryo transfer and a natural service point of view. And the reason I say that is I feel like sometimes we have unrealistic expectations for what we're trying to accomplish with these reproductive management programs. You can't take a reproductive management program applied to a set of animals that have had poor nutrition and expect to have 90% pregnancy rates. And so it kind of goes hand in hand with your overall management. What I would say is from an AI or a time AI program, we should be hitting somewhere between the 50 and 60% range to time AI pregnancy rates. As we get into embryo transfer, it's going to be a little bit less than that. Depends if you're using fresh embryos or frozen embryos. And as we get to final year preg checks, it's going to depend on all those factors combined and all the other management strategies. But what I would do is at the beginning of the year, as you move, as you're a few months out from the breeding season, set a goal for your herd. So if you're going to use time AI, set a goal to accomplish 55% pregnancy rate to time AI, and then set a goal for your final pregnancy rate and kind of work toward that. Do everything from a management point of view, have a good mineral program, good vaccination strategy, good nutritional management, and work toward that goal. And don't focus so much on just the breeding season alone, sort of encompass it all together. And I think that will be a lot more successful. And the other thing is, if you don't reach that goal and you fall short of, trying to reach a 55% time AI and you get to 50 or maybe even to 45, what I'll tell you is, if you think about it from a point of view that you got 45% of your females pregnant on day one of the breeding season, with an estrus synchronization protocol that most likely they weren't going to be cycling if you didn't use that, then all of a sudden you can start to realize that, it's a pretty big accomplishment to get that done. So there's nothing wrong with the 50s. There's nothing wrong with even the 45s. Sure, we would always like higher, but I think that if we put it into terms of where we are from a production and management point of view, we can start to reason some of those results.
Thank you. And I guess, do you have any big takeaways that you'd like to share with people about a reproductive management strategy, just that they can take home, kind of a big take-home message for them?
Yeah, there's a million different ways to manage reproduction in a beef herd, and I really encourage people to try to pick strategies that work well for them. I think a lot of times I'm talking about pregnancy diagnosis to monitor reproductive efficiency, and sure, it would be nice to preg check every beef herd in the U.S. 3 times, but the reality is that doesn't happen, and it's very difficult to do that. So if you can get one pregnancy diagnosis done, that's great. Don't pick a strategy that works well for you, that helps increase the reproductive efficiency of your herd, and don't be so concerned with trying to fall into someone else's template. Yeah, sure, let's look at people that are doing a good job from a reproductive management point of view and copy some things from them, but let's tailor the system to work well for us in our individual operations. And I think that's a major goal as you set a reproductive management program, and set a program that you have investment in for 3 to 5 years. Don't change your reproductive management strategy each year unless something really drastically bad happens, but set a good plan, work with people, set a really good plan, and follow it pretty strictly for 3 to 5 years, because you're not going to be able to start to see the return until you get a few years out.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, Dr. Pohler. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact myself, contact Dr. Pohler. We can get you in touch and get you answers. So thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Lance.